Hey, man, well, it's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about going through some pictures with you and getting to hear more about your life, which is something we've done time to
81
time.
years is going to take a long time.
It might take a minute.
Yeah.
We might have to split it up. I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
right. It'll take a long time. Well, I was born the third daughter of Charlie and Elva Ramsey. She was from the mountains. She's from Gatlinburg, and he was from Claiborne County.
Is that in Tennessee as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the other side.
Gotcha.
But anyway, he went to the CCs. That's when they had that, and he got $17. I think it was a month to send home to his family.
Yeah.
And him and the boys, they would go into town on Gatlinburg, and on their weekends off, and meet the girls and all. And that's where he met Mom.
Okay.
And they got married, and Mama. Her mother was 38 years old, and she was pregnant. She had about 7 or 8 kids, and but she was really sick. And so when Mom and Dad got married, she called him her son.
Yeah.
And she called him to her bed one day, and she asked him, said, when if something happens to me and I don't make this, will you take care of my babies? And she had Austin, Ray, and Buna.
Mm-hmm.
And Buna was 4 years old, Ray was 6, and Austin was 9.
Okay.
And they told her, said, I promise you I'll take care of them. Well, November 22nd that year, when Dell was born, she was born December 6th, her mother died on November 22nd. Mom, I don't think she ever got over that in her whole life.
Yeah.
And Della was born in the cabin that I showed you.
Yeah.
And they said that she was breech, and Mama really wouldn't help because she just wanted to really die. And that was before she had any kids,
Yeah.
And she was looking forward to her mom helping her and showing her how to make clothes and quilts and all that they did.
Yeah.
And that was gone. She didn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
All she had was responsibility for something and in the mountains, they didn't have very much.
Yeah.
So she moved to Knoxville, and she had Della in the mountains, up Smoky Mountains and Gatlinburg. And I think it was, I can't remember, Norton is where she had that river up there. And they had a cabin close to it. And so they moved to Knoxville, and about 4 or 5 years later, she had Grace. And then about 5 years later, she had me. And I was sick all the time.
Yeah.
And they said that they moved to Sweetwater on a farm. And my Aunt Bute, the one that helped Mama all the time, she was there. And they'd take turns but that's the way they did back then. Mm-hmm. If you were sick, they'd bundle you up real good, Yeah. And so the doctor came out, the old country doctor came out and gave her some medicine and all. And he told Mom, he said, you'll never raise this baby. She's too sick.
Yeah.
And here I am, 81 years old, and outlived all of them. Me and Carol's doing good.
Yeah.
And that was how it started. Then we moved into town on Warren Street. It was behind Bud and Pete's Auto Trim Shop on Central, close to Rankin's Restaurant.
Yeah.
And we lived there, and we would go, if we moved out of town, they had to kind of move where Daddy could get a job and all. And he had a good job at Roadways when we lived there. And he had a seizure, and he lost his job, because the insurance, they wouldn't cover him.
Yeah.
And so that just really made it hard on him. Mom had to go to work. And so she had Carol. And she said that when she had Carol, she was hemorrhaging. She had her in home. I'm the only one she had in the hospital.
Okay.
And she said that they lived right in Lee Alley, right behind Old General Hospital. Mm-hmm. I think it's where the health department is now.
Okay.
And she said that she walked up there to the hospital when it's time to have me. And they were trying to keep me from being born until the doctor got there. Of course, she'd had two at home.
Yeah.
And so she said that nurse slapped her on the leg and told her to keep her legs together. And she said, and when she did, I took my foot and I kicked her all the way across that shiny floor. So I came in this world saying, "Hello, world, here
Yeah.
I am." You
Yeah.
know,
you weren't waiting.
no, she would not wait. She done it her way. So
Yeah.
you know, it was really. They had just. It was just like any of the mountain people. They, you know, and that's what they were.
Yeah.
And then they. We always lived around Knoxville somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was in the 7th grade, we moved to Michigan. I loved it in Detroit.
Really? Yeah.
I loved it. Hey, I went to 22 schools.
Yeah.
Ain't no wonders I don't know no more what I do, but I know how to make friends real fast.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, I guess.
That's right. Yeah.
And we lived there for a little while, and then Dale had failed when she was pregnant with Larry, her first one. Dale is my older sister.
Yeah.
There's Della, Grace, me, and Carol. And so she fell, and Mama had to come back to Tennessee, so we had to come back and start over down here.
Okay.
And it's just been, and then I got married, and when I was 17, right before my 18th birthday. And then I had 3 kids with him, and that marriage didn't work out because they say you have to be equally yoked, and we were not.
Yeah.
And so that made it harder on me and the kids because he never helped, you know, with anything. And he traveled with the Allman Brothers and some more bands, you know, as a roadie. And but I said, well, why didn't you send the kids some money or something, you know? And he said, well, it's out of sight, out of mind. You don't think about it. But Michael's my son. I had Lynn, Mike, and Teresa by him. Mm-hmm. And Michael got to know him really well in Florida.
Yep.
And Michael said he lived through the pictures that he had of him. You know, he kept them and he showed them to people. He was so proud of his kids.
Yeah.
But he didn't do anything to help them.
Yeah.
You know, and that wasn't right. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really think, and when I was about, when we lived on Warren, the lady next door, she was an Assembly of God preacher. Mm-hmm. And she was sickly, and so Mama told me that when she wanted, she would say, Eb, bring Bet over here and let her pray for me. So she showed me how to anoint with oil and pray. Now, I quit doing that stuff for a long time. But in the last few years, I believe in all of it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I would do that. I'd go over and I'd pray for her when she wanted it. But I think I've always had Jesus with me. I've had God with me and the Holy Spirit. I can kind of feel it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And but I didn't practice being a Christian and doing what I should and all. I just, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the last few years, I've lived with Carol after my second husband died in 2004. The one that you know is Papa.
Yeah.
And after he died in January of 2008, well, Carol's husband died in 2007 in May. Mm-hmm. So in January then, I moved in with her, and we started doing a lot of things together.
Yeah.
And we learned a line dance, and we'd go to Chattanooga they had a Jubilee down there, and had our pictures made in those old clothes and all that stuff. We had a great time. And Grand Central Station restaurant, they had great bread puddings and all, you know. So we had a good time.
Yeah.
And then in 2017.
And if I'm correct, you guys didn't get along necessarily a whole lot growing up, right?
I didn't know her really because she was 5 years younger than me.
Okay.
And she had drank some kerosene. And it was in I know you don't know, Milky Orange. It had a windmill on it.
I have no idea.
And and the bottle of that, it was just a clear bottle, and she thought it was water.
Okay.
And so she took some of it, and she was in the hospital for a long time, about a
Oh.
week or so.
Yeah.
And they didn't really expect her to live. But Daddy, he told God, he said, if you'll let my baby girl live, I'll quit all this stuff I'm doing. I'll live for you. And he did from that day forward.
Yeah.
And you couldn't ask for a better man, a better daddy, a better grandfather. And he was what my boys needed because they really looked up to him, you know.
Yeah.
And Red was not like the, you know, that at all. He was a hard man to get to know and had a temper and
Yeah.
stuff.
He was who he was. Yeah.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
but my daddy, he was calm
Very
and he
solemn,
would
yeah.
talk. Oh yeah, he would talk to him. And Mike said, you know, Mom said, Papa, when me and him was out working, he'd go out and help Daddy, and all he loved his Papa.
Yeah.
He said that when Papa would be working, he'd say, I'm drinking from my saucer. And he said, I was thinking, what in the world are you talking about drinking from a saucer? And then he heard Sony come over here and I played it for him. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed with blessings,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
So now he understands it. He loves it. But
That's funny.
no, we had a hard time growing up. Well, you know,
Yeah.
if you went to these schools, you really couldn't make
Yeah.
good friends and all. It's harder on Carol than I think it was on me. I
Yeah.
was more outgoing and I would go do stuff. And I did more than any of them, really, you know.
Yeah.
But I think God was with me through all, even both my marriages and the good and bad in that. God was still there because Daddy prayed for us every night.
Mm-hmm.
And if you said, Daddy, I want you to pray for anybody, you know, I want you to pray for me, he'd get down on his knees and pray right there. He didn't care, you know, he was
Yeah.
really a good Christian. And I wish you'd met him, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it was a hard life, but I think so many people had hard lives back then that you really didn't pay any attention to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like in comparison,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like
Yeah.
that much of a difference. Yeah.
No, and it was, and then I moved in with Carol in January 2008. That's when we started doing stuff together.
Yeah.
But when I lived in town in the apartment before that, she'd come in and stay a week at a time with me.
Yeah.
Oh, and we'd just shop and shop and shop. And I can't do that anymore. My hips won't let me. But she was really, we got to know each other then.
Yeah.
And we didn't know each other growing up, really. I just knew she was my sister, you know, and nothing really happened, but it was later on after when they moved down here from Michigan. They lived up in Detroit for Melvindale for 35 years.
Yeah.
And he worked at Ford.
Yeah.
And so when she moved down here, when I moved in my apartment, she'd come over and stay with me, maybe the weekend, because he would go trap shooting and all that, you know, at these different clubs.
Yeah.
And when he's gone, she'd come over and stay with me. We really got to see that we liked a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
And the other two, they're not like us at all. We took them one time to the Cumberland Playhouse.
Uh-huh.
And it was, you know, a funny play about the mountain people and all. And
Yeah.
Nancy, our friend that went with us, there were 2 seats at the top and 3 on down. Well, I was right behind Nancy, so I went up with her. And Carol, I could see daggers in her eyes.
Yeah.
Because
like, why are you leaving me?
Yeah, I would have one on each side. And they never, they didn't know how to enjoy everything, you know?
Yeah.
And Della, she dropped a lot of change, and there she was picking that up, and the play going on, and you know, it just, oh Lordy. She said, "Don't you ever do that to me again." I could sit down there with not pay no attention to it.
Yeah.
But Carol's quieter, and she did. But and one time we were going to take them over to Harris. We were going with the senior citizens
the
on the
casino?
bus,
Yeah.
And So about 4 in the morning, the smoke alarm went off. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
guess just the battery. And here we up, me and her got up trying to get up there because it's up so high like those, you
Yeah.
know.
And you're real tall.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very tall, tallest one of all of them. And we were going to. And we looked around there. We was trying to get the broom, you know, to get it. And here they walked out of the bedroom. And Dale there, she had her wig on. She was like, she's ready to go. And Grace was right behind her. I said, you been up all night? And she said, yeah, I've been getting ready to go. Oh, Lordy. We had some times with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And one year, me and Dale and Grace went to the beach with Mama and got down there. And Dale always had about 2 suitcases full.
I think you've told me about this before.
Yeah, and then Mama, she liked my bathing suit, so she took it, and I had to wear one of Dale's. So it's a good thing she brought a bunch of them, you know.
It worked out.
She's a mess, so. And Mama was, she wanted to go to PTL, a Heritage USA, and they had a prayer room and all, and she just wanted to go. And her brother had heart trouble and some more people she had on paper, you know.
Yeah.
She said, I want to take this up to the prayer room. And Grace and them kept telling her, said, well, Mama, that's too much out of the way. We can't go that.
Yeah.
Well, she went to, you know, at Asheville is where you turn to go to Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Well, whoever was driving, I can't remember. I was in the back with Mom. And they said, Grace said, well, I don't remember these runway truck ramps, like, you know, how they're over there. And every little bit she'd see one. She said, me and Jack was over here just 2 months ago, and I don't remember seeing any of them. And so Mama said, oh, you can't see, so let Bed have it. So she brought it back there to me, and I kept looking and looking. I said, we're going to Charlotte, North Carolina. We're not headed to the beach.
Yeah.
And so I seen that we could go there and then go on that highway to get there. And so we was going to, and one of
you
us.
didn't have GPS.
Oh,
no.
no.
Spoiled kids these days.
I know.
I would have no idea how to read a map.
I know.
I would be lost.
I can screw one of them up. So, yeah. Y'all see something me and Carol got into when they first came out.
Yeah.
But no, we went, and one of them said, hey, let's go get us something to drink. And so they said, we'll pull off this next exit.
Yeah.
Got to the end of it said PTL Heritage, or it said Heritage USA to the right. Oh, Lordy. That was a God thing.
Yeah.
So she got
like
to
Mama's
go.
Getting her way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Grace said, I can't believe that, Mama. She said, you must be a witch. I wouldn't have called her that. But, you know, she did. But it was a God thing. And so she got to go and do exactly what she wanted to do. Then she was happy.
Yeah.
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 And then Carol and I, we used to go to Chattanooga all the time.
Yeah.
And even I was on a walker then, too. And I'd go out on that walker wherever I had to go because both my knees were real bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we get on the trolley, and this one black guy, he knew us pretty well.
Yeah.
And we get on that trolley, and I'd fold it up and put it across my knees when I got ready to leave, you know. And one night we went to see Vince Gill, and he said, well, what time do you get out? I said, I think it's about 10 o'clock. And he said, well, I'll be watching for you all. Yeah. And so there, she went on ahead of me, and here I was behind, you know, on the walker. Mm-hmm. And we got to see Vince Gill. It was great.
Yeah.
And when we got back out, that bus was up at the other red light, and he kind of flashed his light, so we knew it's him. And he kind of waited around because he got off at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we just made a lot of friends like that anywhere we went. Mm-hmm. Had a good time. And then in 2014, I think it was, I got sick.
Yeah.
And they doctored me in January of 2014. my feet started swelling. I'd never done that in my life. And so they put me on fluid pills to take that off and thought I had asthma.
Yeah.
They doctored me for that and even got me a breathing machine and all. So 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2018, no, December 2017, uh, I had taken 3 breathing treatments that night. I couldn't lay down. I had to sit up in the bed with the pillows, behind me because I couldn't breathe. And I called the doctor, and he told me, I called Teresa first, and she said, call your doctor and see what they tell you.
Yeah.
They said, well, Betty said, you need to go to the emergency room and get a breathing treatment. I said, okay. And so when Carol got up, I waited until 7:30, and I told her, I said, you need to take me to the emergency room because I need to get a breathing treatment. And she said, okay. And we started leaving. She said, well, why don't I take you to Nova Turkey Creek? That's a lot closer
Mm-hmm.
because we live off of Middlebrook and Cedar Bluff.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. We got there and they took me back, and the doctor, she said, Betty, we're going to keep you a couple of days because we think that you have a blood clot. I've had them before. It ain't nothing to me. God takes care of all of it. And I said, okay. So they kept me 10 days. And they took me down and done a heart cath. First they took 10 pounds of fluid off of me.
Yeah.
And then they took me down and did a heart cath. And Janet, my doctor, she said, Betty, your heart is only working 15%. And that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
so,
not ideal.
yeah. And so I said, well, can you fix it? She said, no. Said it is in too bad a shape it can't be fixed.
Yeah.
So I said, I was okay with it. I told the kids, I said, hey, either way, I'm ready to go. It don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I was happy. We'd cut up and go on, have a good time. I ain't no used to be sad about this because nobody gets out of this world alive, you know.
Yeah.
If it's your time to go,
It comes for us all.
I know it. If it's your time to go, well, God's going to call you, and that's it. And so they sent me home on this new medicine and Entresto. And she said, this is for people with, what is it? I can't even think. The heart problems that you have, congestive heart failure.
Okay. Yeah.
And she said, we're going to go take you to therapy so you can get some walking in. I just walked on a treadmill, followed, and done the bicycle like this.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I did real good. And then the next year, they took a echocardiogram, and my heart had improved to 35% from 15.
Yeah.
So she had already told my kids that if it got better, it would never be over 40%. It was too badly messed up.
Yeah.
So, and they said, well, they always ask me, well, do you have any tightness in your chest? I said, no. Do you have any heart pain? I said, I've never had heart pain, never. Yeah. And they go through all this stuff every time I go to a new doctor.
Yeah.
And so they said, well, your heart is 35%, and that is really great. So I said, well, I just say thank you, Jesus, when they tell me anything. And so I was doing better. And then in April of 21, I had to go back in the hospital because my heart rate was over 100, like 115. One time it's 140. And so every time I go, I went one day and the nurse told me, said, well, come back tomorrow and we'll see how it is. Well, it was still up. She said, I'm taking you to the emergency room. And that's when all this COVID stuff. I said, I don't want to go to the hospital. And so she said, I'm going to call your doctor. And she did. And my doctor told her that take me out of the emergency room. So I had to go.
Yeah.
And they did echocardiogram. I was just in there 3 days.
Yeah.
And to get my heart rate down, they just doubled my blood pressure medicine.
Okay. Yeah.
And that worked.
Yeah.
So they did echocardiogram, and see, this is a God thing. Because she told me, I told her a year before, I said, can you do an echocardiogram on me and see how my heart's doing now? She said, unless they have a reason for it, so they won't do it.
Yeah.
So
Which makes
God
sense.
took care of that. And so the nurse said I had a lot. She came back and after they took it, she got the result.
Yeah.
She said, Betty, I just can't believe, it's hard to believe. She said, I've been a nurse in the heart department for a long time, and I have never seen this before.
Yeah.
And she said, can you guess what your heart might be doing now? And I said, 40, 45. She said, it's 55. It is normal.
Yeah.
So I just said, whoo, thank you, Jesus, because I know they said they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I know the medicine helped me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad that I feel like God sent us to the right hospital, the right doctors and everything. I thank God for them every day.
Yeah.
But I thank Him for all the miracles and things He can do that we can't see.
Yeah.
And so I went home then after that, and I had written something in my journal about God telling me He's going to give me a new heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it was February the 23rd, 2020. And I wrote, Carol and I had been to church, and we were praising God. And He told me, He spoke to me and said, and it was just a little voice saying, so I guess it's the Holy Spirit saying, praise me and thank me for your new heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, how in the world? They told me I couldn't have a transplant. I'm too old.
Yeah.
How in the world, God, can I get a new heart? But blind faith, I just do it every day. And sometimes I almost forget. And I say, oh, yeah, Lord, thank you for my new heart.
Yeah.
And I tried to do that every day. And so I went home and I found that in my journal in February 23rd, 2020.
Yeah.
He told me He was going to give me a new heart. And 18 months later, I got one. And I would love to have another a picture of it, what it is now.
Yeah.
But of course, they're not going to do
just
that.
So you can see.
Yeah. I guess when I die, though, they might cut me open just to see what
Who
it's
knows?
like,
Who knows?
Yeah. But it's really been a wonderful life. My life was hard, and you know how it was.
Yeah.
But now, Carol and I, we have a good life. We're both saved, and we try to do the right thing. And no matter if we're in church or not, we know that God is always with us.
Yeah.
And we have a lot. And we read something about in the Bible about, but I can't remember where it was at.
That's okay.
That He, our latter days would be easier, and they are.
Yeah.
And they are.
Yeah.
And look, let's see, when was that?
You got to enjoy these days more
Oh,
so.
yeah. Yeah, I enjoy every one of them.
Yeah.
So, what else are we going to talk about?
I don't know. All right. So when did you stop going to school?
I quit in 11th.
Okay, so you made it most of the way then.
I made it more than any of them did. But I quit when after my birthday, and we had the holiday for Christmas, went back in January.
Yeah.
And I quit. I just didn't. I was supposed to, this is so stupid because I could do it now. I was supposed to get up and give a book report. I hated to get up and talk in front of people. Yeah, that was just
too intimidating.
Yeah. And so I just quit because I thought, well, I'm not going to need that. Jerry and I, we were engaged and we was going to get married. And what was I going to need all that for, know? But you can't get a job now if you don't have a high school education. Of course, I'm not looking for one anymore.
Those days are behind
That's behind me. That's right.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. But I went back in what was it, 20?
I don't remember.
Well,
I'm terrible with
anyway,
dates.
well, I am too. I have to have them right in
I
front
know
of
it
me.
was in the past.
Yeah,
It was after you
yeah.
dropped out.
Well, anyway, I was in my 70s.
Yeah.
And I went back in Loudon to their GED thing, and I got my diploma, and Carol got her diploma.
Yeah.
So we did okay.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
said, and Mike I was talking to him one day, and Jerry used to fuss at me because I wouldn't go get my stay in school, and I didn't like that much.
Yeah.
But Mama did too. But so
What's done is done.
I told Mike, I said, when you see your daddy, tell him I finally got my certificate for high school.
That's funny.
Yeah. Silly things.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed keeping all you kids.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about the grandkids. Yeah.
Well,
What it was like that, because so for me because Mom brought up, I had 3 houses basically that I
you
stayed
did.
at. I liked your all's the best.
Well,
don't tell them, but but with you and Papaw, especially in the summer when all the cousins were that was the best time growing up for me.
Playing flashlight
tag, yeah.
Yeah, and Red, he'd get so mad because I wouldn't make us come in.
Get those kids in here! It's too late.
They don't need to be out there. I can just see those flashlights going everywhere.
They're fine.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, well, they're okay. They're just playing.
Yeah.
Had to keep plenty of batteries and flashlights.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I will say I blame you for my sweet tooth.
Lord, yeah.
I 100% blame you.
That is my biggest
because you always had Little Debbie cakes or something around, and so.
Well, when my kids were in high school, I couldn't just go get 2 or 3 hamburgers or what. I had to get extra because I didn't know who was going to be there when.
Out of all the friends of the kids and everything.
Mike and Jimmy Pickle, they're always telling about. They come over one day and said his mama didn't cook much, and I had the spaghetti, I think, and there was some of it sitting on the stove, and they said that. And want to know if everybody eating. Red Thumb said, yeah, we've all eaten. Get all you want of that. So Mike got him some in a plate.
Yeah.
And Jimmy just got the whole pot. And we just let him.
Yeah. This is fine. Yeah. That's funny.
But Mike was in the band, and Teresa was in what they call Flags.
Okay, yeah.
But I didn't get to go much because after I went to work and come home, fixed dinner, all that stuff, I didn't know I had hepatitis C until about 2 years ago.
Okay.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's dormant, I guess, right now. It's not doing anything. But I have to go every year and have it checked, you know. But I felt real tired back then, but doctors never checked for that.
Yeah, they didn't know. Yeah.
And when Mike was born, I had 3 pints of blood, and it was in the 60s, so that was before they started checking it like they do now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the doctor said that was probably where I got it.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Huh.
God was with me through that too. Yeah. Look.
You're still here.
I'm healthy as a horse, yeah. And I went to my medical doctor, and she said, I want you to go to a different kidney doctor. So, because I didn't really like the one I was going to. He was old fashioned.
Yeah.
And he just had an office to himself, and he was real slow about getting everything to the doctors and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent me to the kidney center down here near Park West. And Dr. I don't know if he's new or not. Anyway, the doctor there, he said, he come in and he said, hello. We introduced ourselves, and Teresa was with me, and he said, well, I want to know how they got your heart beating 55%.
Mm-hmm.
And Teresa spoke up and said, they didn't do nothing, God did. So I had to tell him all that stuff. He said, well, and he just laughed, and he said, there's nothing I can do for you. Said, because your heart is beating so good right now that your kidneys are doing better and they're getting all that stuff out of your body. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, woo, praise God, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just, and then I have to go see him in 2 or 3 weeks. I hadn't seen him in a year, so.
Yeah.
But I'm doing good. And I mean, I still have ills and things, but it's not my heart. It's everything else.
Yeah.
Like now, it's my hips. So, but I'll get that straightened out. And since I've lived longer than most of my family, because Daddy died when he was in his 70s, Mama was 80,
Mm-hmm.
Grace was in her 70s, and Della was about 80, I think.
Yeah.
And so I just thank God every day when I wake up and have another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to have a good time over at my house.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Hide and seek in my house, and I'd find things tore down, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
closet's a mess.
We definitely took
Yeah.
over the house whenever
Yeah.
we came over in the summers.
Oh, you did in the winter, no matter when it was,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And I know when you were little, you didn't want to go home a lot of times. You'd want
Yeah.
to stay over there. And Teresa's kids were that way too. You know, they loved it.
Hmm.
So, but I wanted my house to be like that for my grandkids because my kids didn't have that.
Yeah.
And so I'm just glad you all had a good time. It's a good place, safe place to be, wasn't it?
It was. It
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
we all had a good time. But no, you and Daniel were by yourself for a while, and then along came Cameron, and then
Hmm.
Nathan,
Yeah.
and Cameron had his own way,
Hmm.
and Nathan had his. He could talk his papa into anything.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
He was the baby, so yeah.
Yeah, Yuns would send him in there, go tell Papa we want to watch his TV in the living room
Yeah,
because it's bigger.
We would. We used. Yeah, we were smart kids. We
Yeah,
knew if we asked him, he'll tell us no. But if we get Nathan to do
yeah.
it, we can get away with anything.
Yeah, and they say, please,
Yeah.
Papa, let me watch your
Yeah.
TV.
Oh,
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's the way it was. So anyway,
man.
we had a good time,
Yeah.
but let's see what else we talk about.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? We can always just tell them we're done. That's
Well,
the joy of
yeah.
me running this whole
Oh yeah, you're the boss.
crazy thing. It's totally fine.
Well, I don't. I know now that my papa, you know where Cherokee Orchard Road is
I don't.
in
But
Gatlinburg.
okay.
You know, up by that the. It goes up there and makes a loop around the Cherokee Orchard Road.
Okay.
You don't know?
No, you can look it up, but yeah, no, I don't.
Well, anyway, that's where he lived up there, and his wife and their youngest son Harold.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there and stayed with them about 2 weeks one time. Boy, I got to know a lot. They didn't have electricity,
Yeah.
and they had water outside that it come down from a cold spring. You know how cold that water
Yeah.
is. And so, but in the kitchen, they'd put a sink in there and water, this pipe, and water ran all the time. Never did cut off,
Yeah.
all the time. And she had a big old cook stove in there, and oh, Lord, she could really cook.
Really?
Country meals,
Yeah.
Butter from she made, churned and all. And then when you listen to the radio, it ran on a car battery.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of those big old, you
Yeah.
see those old timey, and then they have a battery down there, and it's hooked up to that.
Yeah.
And she had those irons that you put on the stove and get hot and iron, And let's see, what else was it about? Oh, and he made apple cider.
Mm-hmm.
It was an apple orchard.
Yeah.
And he grew all kinds of food, and she canned. And then the guy that owned or rented there leased it from the park. he would have the fixed green beans and stuff. So they did big old wash tubs, galvanized. You've seen them,
Yep.
and they would break beans and get that thing full, and then they'd take them into the restaurants in town.
Yeah.
And Mama's daddy, when she was young, he made rocking chairs and all for the places up
Okay.
there. I wish
Yeah.
we could have
That's
got
really
one of
cool.
them, but
Yeah.
And then her mother, uh, she said that her mother was so sick that she was in bed a lot. And
Yeah.
said, those straight back, ladder back chairs. They're straight and they have,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I know what
Well,
you're
they
talking
had
about.
those, and I think he kind of made them too,
Yeah.
But she had one that she would put up. The back of it was this way; it's turned upside down
Okay.
on the bed because they didn't have stands like they do now.
Yeah.
And she'd tell him bring her Bible, and she'd read her Bible like that.
Yeah.
And she would say, tell her mom, our mom, said, I am so glad for my hope, her faith.
Yeah.
And mom, she took care and she tried to take care of those 3 kids and the rest of them,
Yeah.
And there were about 4 or 5 older.
Mm-hmm.
And when they wanted a place to stay, we never lived by ourselves.
Yeah.
Until we lived in the projects for a little while before Mom and Dad went to Detroit, to Michigan. No, they went to Chicago, and that's when I got married.
Yeah.
And but we always had some of Mom's family with us. They were always there.
Yeah.
That's just normal. But I think back then a lot of families did that way. They live in together, 2 or 3, and it seems like it's getting back to that.
Yeah.
Because everything is going up so high that people can't afford to live out
Yeah,
there.
you almost got to. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're blessed that we can live like we do right here, and we have such a nice place. And thank God. I hope it don't go up too high. That's the thing about it. But no, we're doing good.
Well, good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and probably wrap it up. So, how I've been finishing every episode is tell me someone that was inspirational to you. Someone that you just want to brag on.
Well, I can't say just one.
You can say multiple people.
I will.
You can say multiple.
Because your daddy and your mama are a very inspiration to me and Carol. I mean, they live their life for Jesus every day. And when all of the kids go to him, because they don't have a dad around, And so, like Lynn and, Teresa and Mike do. Because they know that he will tell them the right thing and he'll pray for them. And he don't spread it around. He keeps it to himself.
Yeah.
And that's what, he's always been there, and especially since he's older, And your mama, I'll tell you, she is a real inspiration to me and Carol.
Yeah.
The way she works and does things, and their marriage, I think, is what it was meant to be. The husband is supposed to be the head of the family.
Yeah.
And he takes care of his family. And that gives her time for what she wants because she knows no matter what, he's going to take care of that.
Yeah.
And that's good. I never knew what that was because I had to take care of the bills and I had to work and I had to, I mean, it was different.
Yeah, you're doing it all, yeah.
And I know David and Cricket now, they kind of do like Lynn does. He takes care of everything. Yeah. But no. They are an inspiration. Teresa, I'm telling you what, for all the things wrong with her, she never loses her faith in God.
Yeah.
And she says, Mom, it's going to be okay someday. She has a heart condition that they can't do anything about except nitroglycerin time release pills that she takes.
Yeah.
And some days when her heart rate is over 100, she just has to go to bed. And she does that a lot. But she's learning how to do a little bit and lay down and, So anybody that sees this, put her in your prayers. She needs it. She needs it bad.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, well, maybe you need to thank God for your healing. It'll come. I hope it does. I hope it does while I'm still here on this earth.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why God still got
You
me
wanna
here. I
see
don't
him.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mike, I'm telling you what, that boy is so talented. He can do anything. I mean, there's his stuff right there on the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all his art and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
I mean, and he just started that when he came up here in October.
Yeah.
He'd never done it before, and that's
Yeah.
what he does. A friend of ours, she's wanting to make her one with pink flowers, so that's what he's supposed to do this weekend.
Yeah.
But no, and hey, you kids are an inspiration to me. I have all these grandsons, and you don't. I'm really proud of all of you. You know, there's so much kids can get into now, and things that I don't understand because when I was growing up, it was beer and smoking, and we didn't know about pot and all this other stuff. And like that was in the 70s, so I was already raising kids for them.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing to me all that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
And I just love all of you, and I thank God every day for each one of you.
Yeah.
And I love you.
We love you too. You know I do, Mammal.
I know.
You know.
Yeah, and everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's. Have I met? No, and I didn't say anything about Daniel or Nathan, did I?
Well, you can say
Well,
something right now.
Nathan, he is, all the things he went through, and to be a good Christian and get him a Christian girl and all God sent him to her, it's just, it's amazing. And
Yeah.
Daniel, he works him and Whitney together, and they're doing good. They bought them a farm where they can have all their dogs and everything they want, and it's just a wonderful thing to see them all do that good while I'm still here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really proud of all of you. Huh?
I don't think you mentioned Cameron.
Cameron is
Gotta get him.
well, I'm telling you what, Cameron, I don't worry about him, but when I needed somebody, he's the right one to be there.
Yeah.
Because Papa on the last, he didn't know who he was or anybody else hardly. And Cameron would stay with me when everybody else got mad and said, well, I'm not coming back over here because of the way he does.
Yeah.
And it hurt their feelings. I know that.
Yeah.
Cameron is tough.
Yeah. Loyal.
And loyal. Because, buddy, he would come over and stay with me. And when Papa got to fussing at me and all, Red, instead of praying, he would fuss and go on,
Yeah, well, it was his version
and
of prayer.
and he thought that if I was around, he'd be okay.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, well, you're his security blanket, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he would start fussing at me and saying stuff, Cameron would come in there, don't you talk to my mama like this. He'd say, Cameron, get back in that other room. He said, I'm not going nowhere. You just leave her alone. She's doing the best she can. Oh, and he was a good one for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
Still
Oh,
is.
I know it. I know it. I love him to death. But that's about it. I love all of you.
Yeah.
And you're going to get on the right track too, buddy.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
You will. One of these days.
I'm on a track. Let's just be happy.
Yeah,
you're on. All right, I'm on a track.
I like this track. I like this track you're on. But you're going to do better.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. As Carol always said, you had a voice for a radio announcer.
Yeah, I've got a face for radio, I've been told.
Well.
Yeah. Been told I got a face only a mother can love. Not mine,
obviously,
but one out there somewhere.
Somewhere along the line, huh? Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to call it. That's it. Mamaw, thank you for being
Well,
here. I
thank you
love
for
you.
listening.
I'll listen to you some more. We'll get you on again.
Okay, okay,
But that's it. So
okay.
I don't know if you know, Deadbeat Dad is my moniker.
I
So
seen that.
Deadbeat Dad, over and out. Talk to you later, kids.